Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast series, What's New in ArchLou. This show highlights the people and ministries of the Archdiocese of Louisville, the Catholic Church of Central Kentucky. We ask you to join us each month as we welcome new guests to discuss what's new, what's taking place, and important information about our local church. We hope to invite you to get involved in your parish and more deeply in the faith community. This program is brought to you by the ArchLou Podcast Network. Today, we're pleased to have two guests with us. We'll be talking with Archbishop Shelton Fabre and Melissa Herberger. Archbishop Shelton joined us as the 10th bishop, 5th Archbishop of the Archdiocese this past March. Originally a priest of the Diocese of Baton Rouge, he was most recently the Bishop of Houma-Thibodaux in South Louisiana. Our audience had an opportunity to meet the Archbishop during our first podcast a few months back. Melissa is the coordinator of Annual Giving and Stewardship in the Office of Mission Advancement with the Archdiocese. Melissa and her husband Dan have two children and are members of St. Stephen Martyr Parish. So, Melissa, you're going to get us started. Welcome, first of all.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
And Archbishop as well.
Always a pleasure.
Melissa, I want to invite you to briefly, before we get into the topic of our day, which is Catholic Services Appeal, how about helping us introduce yourself to us a little bit about your background, what brought you here?
Thank you, Brian. I've always been drawn to my faith and learning more about Christ. And even as a kid, I found a church in my neighborhood and would walk myself to church every Sunday and just stuck with that as I was growing up. And when I started dating my husband, Dan, his mom invited me to church with her at St. Stephen Martyr. And it kind of became our Sunday tradition. We would go to church at St. Stephen Martyr and then go to lunch. And it just felt like an instant church home, and I've stuck with it. And have greatly enjoyed going to church there every week and being a part of the parish. Michelle worked for the Archdiocese for many years, and I knew how much her work meant to her and what it meant to her to work in ministry and how much she loved her job. And I knew that I wanted to work in ministry after seeing how much she enjoyed it. So I was fortunate enough to start working for the Archdiocese of Louisville in 2012, first for the Catholic Education Foundation, and then for the Office of Faith Formation, and then just a couple of years ago, moved to the Office of Mission Advancement.
That's a great witness that you did that on yourself as a young child, doing that. And congratulations to your family you joined into through marriage that helped nurture that faith as well. That's
yes,
great.
I'm very blessed.
That's terrific. That's very good. Well, thank you. And we're glad you're on the team for the Archdiocese, and we're glad to have you here today. Our topic is our annual appeal, known as the Catholic Services Appeal, which invites Catholics to support the mission and ministries of the Archdiocese. So, you're our lead person in this, Melissa. You plan and coordinate this annual fund along with your colleagues in the Office of Mission Advancement. So what is CSA?
Well, the Catholic Services Appeal began in 1968, and it was first called the Archdiocesan Development Fund. And it is essentially to provide programs and ministries for our parishioners and our community as a whole. And a lot of our parishes would not be able to provide some of those resources had it not been for funding from the Catholic Services Appeal.
Anything new this year in particular? 68 was a long time ago, but here we are in 2022. What's going on now?
Well, this is the 55th year for the Catholic Services Appeal, and I would say our biggest new thing this year is that we have a new Archbishop, and we're very excited to welcome Archbishop Shelton to the Archdiocese of Louisville. And he spearheads the campaign and is the inspiration for this year's theme, Comfort My People, from his Episcopal motto.
You know, I know the history of the CSA. As you said, it was originally called the Archdiocesan Development Fund. And I remember telling you recently, do you know the first campaign was a door-to-door campaign? Every parish on the same day, on a Sunday afternoon, went door-to-door to ask every Catholic in the diocese to support the appeal. Oh, wow. So the alternative you have is you can go door to door.
Let me get my comfortable shoes out.
Yeah, that's right. I know it's now mostly by mail, but it's also a lot of online. Is that correct?
Yes. People that want to know more about the Catholic Services Appeal can visit ArchLou.org, and they can also make online gifts there as well.
That's terrific. Great. Archbishop Shelton, thanks again for being here. You've been a bishop in two dioceses with their own appeals. What's your response when these appeals come around and people want to know why should I have to support the Archdiocese? I give my parish my gifts. Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, I think there's a twofold response. First and foremost, thank you very much for supporting your parish community financially and prayerfully. For that, I express to you great gratitude for that the giving that you do to your parish. With regard to the Archdiocesan Services Appeal, theologically, one of the things that we as Catholics focus on is that, we're not only part of a smaller group of parish, we're also part of a larger church, the diocesan church, and then that diocesan church is even part of a larger church, the universal church worldwide. And that also parallels our belief that it is about my faith relationship with Jesus Christ as an individual, but I'm also called, to faith in a group setting. I'm called to faith with other people. So parishes are wonderful, and but we're also part of a larger church. So theologically, it reminds us that this is more than just about my parish, which is very, very important. My parish is part of something larger than itself, the diocesan church, which is part of something larger, the church universal. So that would be my theological response, would root itself in that your parish is important, but it's also part of something larger. The next part would be more practical, sometimes, and with many of the services that are provided, it's more cost effective when you're dealing with a larger group. And so that factors in, but some things parishes, as Melissa said, are not able to provide for themselves. And so the Catholic Services Appeals helps the diocese and all of us together to provide those services to our parish communities, those things that they could not do alone. And somebody might be saying, well, what is that? Well, the one that comes to mind immediately is the formation and education of seminarians, The Catholic Services Appeal helps us to educate and to form our seminarians, and certainly doing that together as a diocese benefits every single parish, and it would be very difficult for a parish to start forming and educating, its own seminarians. So there are those things that happen on a diocesan level, such as the formation and education of seminarians, that parishes benefit from. And the Catholic Services Appeals helps us to provide those services to our parish communities. So I would say, look at it from the perspective that as Catholics, we belong to a larger church as well. And then just practically speaking, sometimes we do heavier lifts when we're all together.
Yeah. I know from the materials that come out of Melissa's office and the work that we do, literally every day, tens of thousands of people are served through the ministries of our Archdiocese, from Catholic Charities to seminarians to deacons to all the schools, all the different things. Of course, most Catholics tend to see it through the lens of their individual parish, so that's why that's an important question. Archbishop, help us with perhaps even a little more personal that way. We talk about almsgiving mostly during Lent,
Mm-hmm.
but isn't there some sense of call to give anyway, in spite of the need? Isn't there a give? Could you reflect on that a little bit with us?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that stewardship, offering, the first and most important thing about it is that it reminds us that everything that I have is gift from God. And I'm called upon to share that which God has gifted me with other people. And as you say, we focus on that in a particular way during the season of Lent with almsgiving. But really, throughout the year, I'm grateful for everything that God has given to me throughout the year. So therefore, in appropriate ways, as I am able, I should be financially supporting the ministries of the church that help me and that also assist others. So I think at the very heart of stewardship, and particularly the stewardship of finance, is that I recognize that I have generously received from the Lord, and I am responsible to share those gifts in appropriate ways with others. And that's what's at the very heart of all stewardship, be it prayer or ministry or finances. But all that I have is gift, and I want to share those gifts with others. I don't want to be selfish with those gifts. That's the thing. I don't want to be selfish with my gifts. I want to share my gifts with others.
Melissa, on the receiving end of these great gifts the Archbishop's talking about, there's always that perennial question, where does my money go? Is there a black hole somewhere then the money goes in? What can you tell us about the use of the funds?
Well, I think most of us don't realize that our lives have been touched by the Catholic Services Appeal in one way or another at some point in time in our lives. For me personally, it was when I went through the marriage prep for my marriage to my husband in the church, or when my children went through their sacramental training and education through their school at St. Stephen Martyr, or even for myself when I went through RCIA in 2011. And just want to remind everyone that we've all benefited from the CSA at some point in time. In the materials that they'll be receiving any day now in the mail, there is a listing of just some of the ways that they would see the Catholic Services Appeal at work in their parish.
Very good. Do you hear questions or concerns or misconceptions people have that you could help clear up on our little show today?
I think one misconception that I do hear a lot is people will say, well, my gift doesn't matter, my one gift, or I can't make a large gift, so it's not going to make a difference. And every gift makes a difference and has an impact on the lives of those that we serve through our church. So I encourage people to pray about the appeal when they receive their booklet in the mail, and pray about their gift, and just know that their gift will have an impact no matter the size.
Very good. Archbishop Shelton, we're going to hear from you in a minute. We have an annual video that you got to be the star of this year and communicate to the people of our diocese. You get to voice it there, but you've experienced appeals, as I said before, in other dioceses, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, home of Thibodeau. In those experiences, and here in a few months, you thought about generosity. Is one image that comes to mind. What have you noticed about people's generosity in your time as a bishop?
Mm-hmm. I've noticed that their generosity is, as I said, deeply rooted in their faith, that they understand that they have been gifted by God, and they want to, in appropriate ways, share those gifts. The next thing that I have noticed is people are very, very generous to their parish communities. I think that people, they are passionate, be it, about retired priests who benefit from the Catholic Services Appeal, or seminarians, as I said, who benefit from the Catholic Services Appeal, or faith formation for young people. All of those things that benefit from the Catholic Services Appeal, people, it inspires them, and they want to help the church to provide those services. They want to build up those ministries. So I think that their generosity is first a reflection of their own faith, in their relationship with Jesus Christ, and out of gratitude for all that they have. But they also see their responsibility to other people. It's not just about Jesus and me, it's about Jesus and us. And they are passionate about those who have served the church so well, retired priests, or those who hope to serve the church in the future, the seminarians, or those who are a part of the church now, and also the future of the church, our young people, and young adults. So I think that they recognize those things, that it's a reflection of their own faith, their own relationship with Jesus Christ, but also wanting that relationship with Jesus Christ to have a positive effect in the lives of others, those who are helped by the Catholic Services Appeal.
You both use the word stewardship, which of course is the context of the appeal, and there's many slogans in the stewardship materials that go out all the time, and one of my favorite ones is stewardship is everything we do after we say I believe. So what we do out of our belief. So before we go to the video about CSA, Melissa, one of your responsibilities is to actually promote stewardship in parishes. So I want to give you a chance to say a little bit about that, and then also help us connect that to CSA. So stewardship.
Well, I work with parishes to provide stewardship resources, materials, and training. And stewardship is more than just a financial contribution. It's a way of life. It includes prayer, participation, and generosity. And the way that these three components relate to the appeal is that we hope parishioners will pray about the appeal and the success of the appeal when they receive their materials. And we hope that they will pray about the gift that they will give. And we also want parishioners to know that participating in the appeal is their form of praying for the appeal or making a gift in any amount.
Very good. The stewardship is obviously a very practical way to describe what goes on in a parish life, because it's the people's engagement. It's not just about their donation or a Sunday collection. It's really about engagement, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's more about being present and giving of your time and being a part of your parish church community.
Let's go back now to the appeal. Could you share with us some of the practical details of the 2022 CSA?
Yes. Everyone should be receiving their appeal booklets in the mail. May have already received them. They can mail a gift in with a check, credit card information, or even a stock transfer. They can drop off a gift or even a cash gift to their parish or to the pastoral center that's located on Poplar Level Road. Or they could even visit ArchLou.org to learn more about the Catholic Services Appeal and ways that it impacts their parish, and they can make gifts online as well.
Online givings. We're getting high technology now.
Yes,
Yeah.
There's even a QR code they can scan that they'll hopefully see in their parish.
Well, now you're getting beyond my abilities, so I think I'm going to stay with the mail. Okay. My pastor sent me a great letter the other day. He sent a letter saying that CSA helps our parish, and he says several ways it happens, and he asked all of us in the name of the parish to be part of it. That was a really helpful message to get. A pastor's role in CSA, tell us about that?
Our pastors are actually leaders of the Catholic Services Appeal. They're the ones that witness about the appeal and its impact on our church community to parishioners, each week when they're in church. So we do rely heavily on our pastors for their leadership and their promotion of the Catholic Services Appeal.
Yeah,
and our pastors are some of our most generous donors.
They're great on so many levels there. We need them. So I'm grateful. But I was grateful for that letter from my own pastor. When I guess it's endorsed that way, but also his personal request. It's also just a little bit of competition. He says, we're one of the leading parishes. He said, and let's stay one of those most generous communities. So there's a little fun they have with that along with that too. Okay, we want an opportunity for our viewers and our listeners to see and or hear the annual Catholic Services Appeals video. The presenter this year on the video is Archbishop Shelton himself, so you get to hear more about his message and the work of the appeal, and then we'll take a chance to wrap up the show after you listen to this great presentation.
I greet you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I'm Archbishop Shelton Fabre, and it is my privilege to serve the Archdiocese of Louisville. I welcome you to the 2022 Catholic Services Appeal. The theme for this year's appeal is Comfort My People. God definitely comforts us, and the way that the Lord comforts us is through the presence and the ministry of the Church. Your financial gift to the Catholic Services Appeal will impact the lives of our brothers and sisters in Christ, providing comfort and hope to those who have need of it. I want to assure you that every dollar you give goes directly to support outreach and services, providing funding for ministries that no parish can accomplish alone. For example, the needs for the formation of future priests, meeting the needs of family and youth ministry, worshiping on Sunday, multicultural ministry, and certainly providing for our retired priests, as well as faith formation needs and our outreach through Catholic charities. These are simply some examples of how your financial gifts will impact the lives of many, bringing comfort and hope to all of God's people. And so I invite you to please consider a gift to this important effort. Your financial gift in any amount is a faithful response to our call together to comfort God's people. I thank you for your faith. I thank you for your generosity. May God in His goodness continue to pour out His blessing upon you and upon all of those whom you love. For you and I truly are the hands and feet of Jesus Christ in our world today. God's peace be with you.
Archbishop, you were great to do that video for the community here. I guess a silly question: do you like doing programs like that? Do you like doing videos?
I don't mind it. I have done a lot more here than I have done in other dioceses, so I don't mind it. I hope I'm getting better at it. So, but I believe in the cause, and to support that cause, to support the services that we provide. I'm very happy to do that video or any video that I'm asked to do.
I'm not surprised. You probably, just my own knowing of you these months, rather interact with people personally than through a camera.
Correct.
But this is a good way to get a whole message out.
It reaches out to them far more than just me could do on my own. So.
Yeah, we hear all the time about the many people who watch this podcast, and we're really grateful to you. But also, there's other podcasts and presentation prepared throughout the Archdiocese. We'd like to thank you for being part of this podcast this month. We hope that you enjoy this opportunity. We'll come back again next month. We'll have a new show with new guests. Thank you, Archbishop. Thank you, Melissa. And thank you, listeners and viewers.